Sports Podcast.
I was fuming yesterday. Obviously, I wanted to watch the football live and not on the iPlayer or so I ran down to the shop to get an aerial. I asked the guy, like, this is what I need. I was like, I need an aerial for this. He goes, yeah, you want two male ones. Great. It's shut. I was like, fine, just before you shut like this, get home, plug it in. Doesn't fit. I'm fuming. All you have to do is give me one bit of information.
What a nightmare. If there's one thing I would never look to tackle, it'd be TV aerials, you know.
All I need was the cable. The rest is all done.
Yeah. I don't mind a man coming and spending 10 minutes here for an extortionate amount of money if it just means it works.
Mate, all you got to do is plug it in and press the tune button. But I couldn't even plug it in and do that bit right.
Welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and today, Joel. Hey, Joel.
Hello, Matt.
And James, how are you?
I'm all good, guys. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
Also good. I feel like I can just crop this piece and just use it every single week. But
wow.
People less on top of the world, Rory McIlroy and Romelu Lukaku.
Oh, Rory.
I thought I was ready to talk about this, but I still don't think I am.
He hasn't spoken about it either, has he?
Well, he stormed it. I had to say stormed off. He didn't.
He's not in any media at all.
Yeah, I mean, can you blame him? I think if I'd lost like that, there'd be a James Bray-shaped hole in the wall somewhere.
So tonight we will be talking about the US Open Golf Championship and mainly the Euros football. And that will be pretty much it. So maybe an even split, 50-50 on each. Where do we want to start? Do we want to go should we talk about the golf first? Go bad news, good news first. Get the sad golf chat out of the way. But there was also some greatness in the golf. But get that out of the way and then we'll get into the football chat. How's that sound?
Yeah. I thought we'd got better at this, but we forgot to let you do the intro. So sorry about that.
Out of practice. I will say.
I don't mind. It just shows the passion that you have in supporting Rory McIlroy. Okay. Well, let's not start with Rory. Let's start with how classy Bryson DeChambeau is.
Yeah, he's definitely, he's gone full circle. He's gone from the hated, got the Brooksy shouts all the time, didn't he? And then went to live and it didn't get much better. And now he was pretty much cheered in every corner of the golf course, which pretty unusual to see someone do a full 180 despite taking a load of Saudi money.
I think a part of that, though, being cheered in all corners, especially on day 4, was because it looked like it was between him and Rory and maybe Mathieu Pavon. And it became a little bit Ryder Cup-esque, that it was the USA chance. Rather than Bryson and cheering, there was a lot more USA.
I disagree. I think he could have gone up against another American and they would have still been cheering Bryson. I think his
But they were cheering USA.
They were, because that's what Americans do when they're up against European, but it's because of it's Bryson DeChambeau. Like, if it was Bryson versus, I don't know, Justin Thomas, I still think they'd have been cheering Bryson. And they made a good point, actually, on the broadcast about what it was down to, and some people, there's like two views on it. You can either say, he's got a bit more mature, and people just like sort of warm to him a little bit easier, or you can say that, the fans that he's got is because of his YouTube presence, and he's much more visible now, and people have seen his character come out. And I think it's probably a blend of both. Like, he doesn't seem like the arrogant, Augusta's a par 68 for me golfer that he was a couple of years ago. He definitely seems like a more rounded bloke, and people resonate with that, and that's why they're cheering him.
I think backtracking on his comments previously has definitely helped. Like, a little bit of humility definitely helped. And then also, I think the way that he plays golf is enjoyable to watch. Like, people want to watch enjoyable golf. They don't want to watch someone bunt it down 280 yards and then hit a long iron onto the green. They want to see someone taking risks. And his 380 yards draw around the corner that he did, what was it on, like was it this, maybe like the 15th or 16th, where Rory had put it straight into the rough. Rory and Cantlay had put it straight into the rough. Bryson took the same line, but just had so much length that he's skipping out of trouble. Like, people want to see him play like that. That's attractive golf to watch.
Yeah, I think you can compare him to, so the Open winner last year, Brian Harman, was hated because he plays boring, short golf.
He reminds me of a club pro.
Yeah, he is. And he's not, he's difficult to root for because he's the polar opposite of Bryson. Hasn't really got much personality. He just goes out there to play the game, bunts it to 60, 270, and he's really good at the short game side of it. Bryson does hit the ball ludicrously far and he's entertaining to watch. And I think the first time this weekend I've ever seen a golfer sort of like interact with a crowd during a major, like it was almost like he was playing in a pro-am, like he was getting booed for pulling out iron off the tee. He was like, "Oh, don't boo me, guys!" Like he was almost like engaging with it. And I was like, "Bryson, what are you doing? Like you are in a major, chasing down, your third." It's almost like he's playing in a YouTube video the whole time, which is great.
With the way day 4 was going for him as well.
Yeah,
like. It's easy to go into your shell a little bit and try and refocus and whatever and try and ignore all that other stuff that's happening around the course. And I actually think that's like a default setting for golfers. But he is definitely different. He has a personality. Like, I think that's why people like him. Like,
yeah. I would say, like, if you talk about the final day, I don't think personally, apart from the 18th hole that Brooks won it, I would say that Rory threw it away. So Brooks was 1 over for the day. I think he shot 71.
You're talking about Bryson. Yeah.
Bryson was 71 for the day. Yeah,
you're so committed to the Brooks bit there.
Are you team Brooks, James? Have you just revealed your team Brooks?
I think I'm team, but I quite like them both now. I don't really hate either of them. But yeah, Bryson, I'd say he sort of inherited Rory's bad play. It's not like he bombed it on the Sunday and was uncatchable.
He'd already lost it.
Yeah,
and then Rory threw it away. Like that's the only way that you can perceive it, I think.
But if you want to sum it up and like what happened on the 18th hole, 65 yards out or whatever it was, that up and down shot is up there with one of the best golf shots that's ever been hit.
Out of the bunker.
Out of the bunker, to have the clutchness to come and do that, I think it's just damn impressive. It doesn't matter who you wanted to win, that's just impressive to watch.
And I think when you look at that comparatively to the other shots that were happening around that green, how much of a tabletop it was, and obviously how we know the course played and specifically the greens over the weekend, when you give it that context, you understand and the pressure that he was under, how quality that was and why he actually deserved to win it. And I agree. Rory threw it away. He was 3 over through the last 5 and Bryson did it with par golf. So
he did. But
exactly with 4 to play, wasn't it?
Yeah, he shot 3 bogeys in the last 4 holes. But if you talk about Rory as a whole, like for the first 15 holes of yesterday, he was doing everything that he hasn't done recently in majors. Like his putts were holding, he was playing good golf, he was striking the ball well. And then suddenly he had a 2-shot lead. He pulled the wrong club on.
Oh, he went driver instead of freeward. Yeah.
No, that's 18. But on 15, he was stood over his ball for ages because it was gusting. It was like, right, I'm going to hit 7 iron. Should have hit 8. Flew it over the back.
He did. Yeah, his 7 iron went so long. And
I think that's where Rory McIlroy needs to have a look at but for me, his caddy situation. Like his caddy is his mate, and that's great. Like they probably have a great relationship, but he needs one of the best in the game. Has to have one of the best caddies in the game for him to say, right, it's like slow down, you're going to have adrenaline, he's playing downwind, you have to hit the middle of the green, it's an 8 iron. I just think some of those things that happen to him, like even on the 18th, if you have a caddy that's not your friend, can go, Rory, what on earth are you doing? Hit 3 wood. I just think he doesn't have that strong relationship with the guy that he's using at the moment.
Yeah, I think if you have that friendship relationship rather than that professional relationship, like that, there's too much emotional investment in your friend over professional colleague.
Yeah.
And I know that they have to be close in terms of the bond between player and caddy, but they also need to be not. And you need someone to be able to call you on it. And I didn't see him call him on anything. And maybe that's the way that Rory wants it with someone on his bag, though. I can't say that that someone else on his bag that's going to be challenging him is actually going to get the best out of Rory. I think Rory's probably it's just what he wants. It's what he feels he needs on the course. I don't know. It's so easy or it's so hard retrospectively to say these are the things he needed to do differently. But in the moment, you knew a 7 was too much. You knew that driver was the wrong club. Shot selections were wrong. It was
Yeah,
it was the joking. Like they said though, like the main thing was the putts. he missed 2, 3, 3.5 putts, and he's not missed a putt 3 foot and under for the whole season. And then he misses 2 on the final day of the major when he's got a 2-shot lead with 4 holes.
496 out of 496, I think, from that distance, and then 3 putts. And
496 consecutive 3-foot putts.
Yeah, it's just, that's the pressure of winning a major. Like, there's a reason these guys that have won it 15, 18 times are so admired, because it's such a hard thing to do.
Yeah. And if you are going to miss putts, it was obviously going to be on this course. No players had had 4 rounds under par.
No, and just to sort of say on the whole event, I think it was the most entertaining major I've watched in the last 2 or 3 years. And it
was it not too hard though? I messaged the group mid-weekend and said, like, is it fascinatingly challenging, or is it just crazy golf? Because some of the greens and the margin for error was so small that it really did feel just like some of them were like a crazy golf putting green.
Yeah, but we say that like it was. If you look, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, I was good. I was just like, I think you want it to be ridiculously hard. Like their level is so high. Yeah. Like, I don't want to see people winning majors 20 under. Like, I'd rather see them. People still making putts. Like, it's not like nobody made putts all week.
It's the US Open is meant to be the most difficult one as well. Like, it's historic, you play very difficult courses. And if you look at each green, they weren't small, but you probably saw it on the broadcast. But like with all the runoff areas, the size of it was much smaller. Like the areas to miss were like non-existent, and that put it in the same category as Augusta. And no one complains that Augusta's too difficult. So I don't think that's. And it's not like they're playing different courses. Every player is dealing with the same issue, which just makes it a good challenge. I think I think it's actually in the rotation Pinehurst for the next. I think it's 5 of the next 20 years or something, maybe 5 of the next 25 years. So we'll get to see it.
Always at number 2. They've got 7 courses, haven't they?
They've got 10 courses.
How many are championships?
Number 2 is their championship course.
They've only got 1 championship course.
I don't know that for a fact. Just number 2 is the famous one. So they've held the US Open 3 times now, and they had a Ryder Cup there about 80 years ago. But yeah, great event. It was sat there last night watching it come in. For the longest period, I just thought it would just be, Rory's going to see this out, and then it was pretty heartbreaking at the end for him. I don't know how you pick yourself up after that.
Can he ever win one now?
I think this could be the blocker that blocks him forever.
Well, do you know, I called it last week and said, will he actually ever win one? And then I'm sitting there on hole 12, 13, 14, thinking he's in the bag. And I actually thought when Rory was struggling with the pressure and choking, I thought Bryson's going to do something here. Like there's a hook or a right angle tee shot that he's going to do, but he didn't. Great composure. Maybe that's what Rory needs to look at, actually, is how these other players are dealing with this pressure. He needs to take a look at Scotty's game and Bryson's and actually understand like what their perspective is and how they're managing to deal with it and get it done, because he doesn't have that at the moment.
You say that, but I mean, Scotty was terrible this week. First day, he couldn't get a ball in the fairway. I think he hit 3 fairways on the first day. And then Bryson on the final day changed his driver head, and he was hitting it everywhere. And he wasn't really ever destructive. Like, he'd never got one that sat directly in a bush. He always had some sort of lie until the 18th, where he was crouched under a tree trying to hack it out. And he still getting made par from that, so fair enough. But I think he got quite lucky with some of his tee shots Bryson did yesterday.
And he got lucky with his opponent.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's too much water under the bridge for McIlroy now. Like, James, you say this one could be the blocker, but that Masters one, I think, will always be. You could even trace it back to that, like that spectacular implosion. Was it 2010?
2014. That was the year. I think that was the year he'd already won 2 majors as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just to implode like that on the final day, I don't think he's ever been able to get over that. And now this is another one on top of that. So the successes are so long ago, and they have these huge failures. I can't think of a better word for it, but huge failures afterwards that is just so hard to get over.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, all you can do is, there's 4 of them a year. He's going to Troon in a month's time.
Yeah.
You never know if it might fuel him to be, the best Rory McIlroy that can turn up at Troon. Like, you wouldn't be surprised if he rocked up in 4 weeks and won by 5 shots. That's just
and I'm probably going to go the other way. I'm going to go the other way and say that he is going to win a major. He's just got the golf for it. He's got major winning golf. There is going to be a tournament where he is 5 shots up and he may throw 3 of them back. But he's got the game to get it done. So I think that's the way it's going to go for him. But what I don't think that's going to happen is that he's going to get into double figures in terms of majors.
His long-term majors form is pretty good, isn't it?
It's great, yeah. Second places, third places, fourth places. Like, he is always in and around it, really. But too often you see Rory out of it after 2 rounds. He'll make a cut and he'll come steaming through and lose by 4 shots.
Oh, we've been speaking about it for the last 3-4 years, Joel. Which day's Rory going to choke on? Like, there's going to be one day that he throws it away.
The standard Rory round is start with a 76 and then chip away at it for the next 3 days, basically.
Finish with a 63 and lose by 3 shots.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Anyone else that impressed you guys? Surely Pavon.
For 56 holes, Ludwig looked great.
Oh, didn't he just? Wow.
He killed him.
He plays some attractive golf too. It's not the length, but it's the risk that he takes with some shots.
I just think that, and I hope this goes with experience. He's still very young. Like, it's his second major. He's just chucking in too many. Like, I think there was 3 triple bogeys for him. Which, when the winning score is 6 under par, 3 triple bogeys is just.
He's doing that with a smile on his face, though. Like, he's taking those losses well. Like Bryson is still smiling through gritted teeth.
If he's making triple bogeys, doesn't care if he's the happiest man in the world. He's not going to win anything. You don't get shots for being smiley. I understand that side of it. Like, it's good that he's got a good mental game, but he can't make mistakes like that and expect to win things.
And he won't, because he'll learn from it.
He'll get there.
And he's got the game, and he's got the talent, and he's got the shot. He's got the shots in his bag, and that's the thing. I think he's got more shots in his locker that he probably needs to hold back rather than do because he's got them.
Yeah,
and he needs to make the right shot selection, not just do it because you can.
Agreed.
But do the right shot, and
he needs a major winning course management, which he won't have until he's played in a few of them. But yeah, Ludwig was great. I actually backed Patrick Cantley because he is a bit of a ball striker. He's got a great short game. And he played all right, just kept throwing in the odd mistake, which just knocked him out in the end. So he was 4 under, wasn't he? So he was top 3 in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good for golf as a whole because you had some great names up there. Finau was in it, Hatton was in it, obviously Bryson, McIlroy, Cantley.
I thought the Europeans were good, actually. I kind of hoped that we had Ryder Cup in 60 days rather than 420 days, but I'm afraid not. I was really, I've said his name a few times, but Pavon was, his accuracy I think he's got Ryder Cup golf. Dietrich as well was really solid. I just think there's a few Europeans that were putting their hands up. Had we been in a Ryder Cup year, I think it would have been a very, very fun tournament this year.
I think Pavon is a steady golfer, but I don't think he's, a contender for one of them leading European players. He just hits that high swipey fades everywhere.
You can't get around that US Open this weekend without being one of the top golfers in terms of accuracy, and that's what you need, especially if it's going to go US Opens are going to continue in this vein. You need that level of accuracy. I'm not saying that he's like a nailed on major winner. I'm just saying that he impressed me.
Yeah, fair enough. I think there's a few PGA Tour British players that look good as well. Obviously, Aaron Rai, who's been sniffing in and around the PGA Tour, is
at the championship at the PGA last month as well. He was in the mix and playing some great golf.
He does wear 2 gloves though, which does.
I was gonna.
That's no good.
Literally about to say the same thing. Yeah, I can't have the 2 gloves.
There is a story about why he does it.
Yeah, I've heard it. It's like, and he uses iron covers as well, doesn't he? And there's a story behind that.
He would.
Go on then. Let's hear the stories because I've not heard them.
He's not didn't come from a lot of wealth growing up. and his dad invested super heavily into his golf game with what he could. Like, bought him a brand new set of Titleist irons, which they were his like pride and joy, which is why he looked after the grips with 2 gloves. And even now, he gets his clubs for free, but those like values are very much instilled in him to keep everything super nice, even though he gets ribbed for it all the time. And he has a YouTuber coach. I don't know if you've ever heard of Me and My Golf.
Me and My Golf, isn't it? Yeah.
So he definitely does things slightly unconventionally, but lovely swing.
Yeah, they're from not far from me. They're from Wolverhampton way, I think.
Yeah.
What's the club that they used to shoot all their content at?
Not the Belfry.
No.
It's the Asprey, isn't it?
Yeah. Good work, that one.
Yeah. So I do know about them, and sometimes they talk about him on their Instagram and stuff like that. So you get a nice little insight into how they coach him and stuff. And it's cool to see like them taking a chance on him vice versa with them. Like, yeah.
Me and My Golf was actually what got me back into golf. I was like 17, 18, watching quite a lot of YouTube, and stumbled across those two, like all the videos they did. And I used to watch them every day at work. I was like, I could do this again. Picked up a golf club, and my girlfriend's hated me ever since.
Yeah, they were a bit of a lockdown venture for me.
They were. I mean, all these channels must have blown up during lockdown when everyone was stuck in, and golf was the first thing you could really do after it. But yeah, good major overall. Enjoyed it. On to Troon in the 3rd week of July.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying about the European players, lots of low rounds. They just struggled to put them together, didn't they? Hatton and Fleetwood both shot rounds in the 60s, but Fleetwood just came too late. But it was the consistency. They weren't able to put enough good rounds together. Yeah,
that's been it. That's been the story for the last few majors or tournaments with Fleetwood. Is he's been slow starting, so he's got some work to do on that. No TV coverage of him until the final round, and conversely, with Hatton, he was getting a lot of TV coverage because he was playing some absolute worldy shots.
Yeah, they also.
My favourite quote of the whole weekend was from Tyrrell Hatton. He was saying about
press conference
about how difficult the course. He goes, "Yeah, it's actually right because everyone's losing their head, so they come down to my level because I'm losing my head every week." And I was like, "That's my kind of golf."
Yeah, I've seen you smash a hole in your golf bag with your iron, James.
I've got dents in water bottles. I've been through a few golf.
I put my 8 iron in a tree once.
I've learned to do a new thing there.
Was that mid swing though, Joel?
Nah, like off the tee, short par 3. I basically hooked it and just like on the recoil, just let it go basically straight in the tree. But we couldn't find it for ages. It was like, where has that gone? And then looked up, and there it was, stuck in the branches.
There's a rule we put in about angry with clubs, so you have to be angry with your weak hand. So trying to throw a golf club with your wrong hand, you're an idiot trying to love it, which has reduced the damage that I'm causing my golf clubs.
The comedy and embarrassment of having to then look for your club.
Exactly.
That brings the anger down, doesn't it?
A friend of mine so badly. He did something similar. So he snap hooked one, then followed through with his club and launched it. And I've never seen a club get so perfectly lodged between like a branch and it's like almost like imagine this. Yeah. And it's hooked over the top of it. And it's been there for 7 years, this 5-wood has. It's about 40 feet up, so no one's ever getting it. So he walks past this tee every time, remembering throwing a club that day, and his 5-wood being stuck in the tree.
Austria have just scored an own goal.
Right, on to the Euros chat then.
Thought I'd give you the segue.
How did we do, Joel? I'm keen to get your thoughts on this.
We did okay. It was a bit workmanlike, but that's our hardest game in the group, and they won it. So any win in that game is probably enough. There's something not quite there with the balance of the team. I think the formation's not quite right, but I don't really know what the answer is. They started quite strangely, I thought. Like, players were a bit all over the place. It seemed like they'd had lots of ideas about what they wanted to do and just thought, let's do all of them.
Yeah, no, I sort of saw it the same way. I think to start with, we had Trent playing like right wing back in possession. I was like, oh, what's going on here? It looked quite intriguing. And then they soon reverted back to Trent playing like a box-to-box midfielder. I mean, we have terrible records in opening games of major tournaments. So to get a win is a big tick in the box. And like I say, they are pretty good. They've got some big names in there. They're a difficult team to sort of break down. So didn't hate the 1-0, did play amazing. But there's unfortunately still a lot of question marks. Like if we play like that against a good team, I think we'll lose.
So that probably did more damage in terms of confidence and momentum.
No, don't agree with that. I don't think it will. I don't think they'll be reading too much into it, and I think they'll be encouraging each other not to as well. All the chat will be, they got the job done. And they're good at that. I think that's one of the good things that Southgate has brought to the team and to the England setup in general, is having like this clarity of you're not always going to be amazing, and no matter what you do, people are going to criticize you. So what's the point in worrying about it? Let's just focus on what we're here to do, which is ultimately win football matches, and that's what they've done. So they won't be bothered about this one bit.
100%. Winning breeds confidence. It's knockout football as well. So in tournament football, you just have to win your games, which we've done. Get through the group now. I think
win one, draw one, gets you
correct,
through.
Yeah.
And we'd have said that a draw against Serbia was most likely. So actually getting a win against the least likely team is a strong point. And I think maybe we said it on the pod last week, or it was other discussions, but we said like Serbia are going to be hard to beat. Their first game too, they want to get through. They're going to be very robust and difficult to play against. And like you said, they've got some serious players too. Vlahovic, Tadic. They've got some big international names. They're not just names that we know, but they're actually big international names that they've got on the team too that are match winners. So do well to get through against a side like that unscathed. Clean sheet too. Pickford looked good. I would say actually, I looked for extended highlights this morning, and the longest highlights I could get were 3.5 minutes. So that probably speaks volumes about the game.
Yeah, look, there's definitely positives from the game. I think Pickford played well. I think Gahey looked fantastic. I think he's probably the brightest spot that came out of it. No issues with him playing alongside Stones. That feels like that gap's pretty filled in. Jude was great. I think the comment that Southgate made about him was a little bit telling about him writing his own script. It feels like Jude Bellingham just goes where Jude Bellingham wants to go in the match, and they're probably giving him the license to do that. Some concerns, I think Trippier at left back was a bit ropey. I think when you play with a flat back four like we were trying, you have to have fullbacks that can open up and bring your wide players in, which he couldn't do. He was always coming back inside, which then sort of congests that area of the pitch. So the quicker we can get Shaw fit, the better for us. What else? I think you mentioned Trent's mistake. I think in general he played okay as like a first game in that major tournament in centre midfield. I don't think he played too badly. Made some nice passes, broke up some play, and then I think Foden's probably the big concern for me. He's not the same Foden that played in the Premier League from the 90 minutes that he played last night.
Yeah, I mean, there's something not quite right there with where he's being asked to play, how often he's getting on the ball. And for me, it's kind of on him to make sure that the moments that he does have, he's concentrating. Like that's number one, he's fully focused, because I feel like there were times last night where maybe he hadn't been in the game for a few minutes, but then there's a moment, and that's where you want to show him what you want him to show his quality. I think there was a moment relatively early on where he tried to take the ball in his stride, like on the turn in the box, like, not easy, but definitely within his system. You would see Foden do for City every single week.
Yeah.
So I just think I think he dragged a shot a few minutes later as well, and he's just not showing the quality that he has when he gets the chances. So
yeah, I think the concentration was a really good point. There was one in the second half, which is like a fairly innocuous moment, like we were countering, and Gallagher had made a great run. All he did was find him, had loads of space, and Foden passed it about 4 feet behind him, and it's like that's never something you'd see Foden do. That concentration is definitely one. And I also think, he's being asked to play in a role, but if you are as good as you can, like you are, you're meant to be the best player in the Premier League. You should just be able to go, I can still play my game on this area of the pitch, and I can affect the game, which he isn't doing in the England shirt at the moment.
I mean, you'd think that he would relish the anonymity, and I don't know if anonymity is quite the right word, but there was a lot of focus on Kane and Bellingham and Saka last night. They got the treatment, and like you would think that would leave more space for Foden, and he could be his dexterous best, but like he just wasn't there. There's just, I don't know, there's something missing. So I think it's mostly like a mental thing from his side of things, really, and he just has to brush off those moments where it doesn't quite fall for him and just concentrate on the next one rather than dwelling or overreaching or whatever. But he still has to play. Like, he's a fantastic player. He's one of our best players, and he still has to be in the side. I think the Shaw thing, or the left back thing in general, is an issue. Like, there's not much of a connection between him and Trippier. And yesterday they were obviously asking Trippier to play quite high. And at times Walker looked more like a third centre half than a right back. And obviously that pushes Foden inside. And because Bellingham is so dominating in there, like, he's demanding the ball, he's moving all over the pitch to get the ball. And when he's got the ball, he's doing what he wants to do with it. So he's in his shadow at the moment, Foden is. And he's both literally and figuratively moving into his space in the pitch, because that's what that move of Trippier moving further forward is asking him to do. And last night that left Kane a bit stuck in between. And I thought he tried to stay high. There were moments in the second half where he came too deep. But I just want to say that I thought he was completely shackled by the Serbian centre half. I thought he had a brilliant game against him, really physical, and didn't give him an inch.
Yeah, I think that was part of Kane.
Go on.
I was just saying that's Kane clearly got told to play up there and on the shoulder, which isn't his game, and he's going up against an absolute unit at centre half in the back three. And he was going to struggle, and he did. And the times that he'd probably had enough of it, he started to drop deep and fall back into that habit, which then hurt the rest of the team.
And then did that just lock up the Serbian defence to give us more space, though? It doesn't seem so from the way that the game's gone, that we didn't get any more goal-scoring chances particularly. And the fact that Kane only got one touch in the first half, or first 35, 40 minutes or something I saw.
I'd say first 60 minutes it did, but then we just sort of lost control of the midfield. He brought Gallagher on, which did a bit of a favour, but I think the Serbians, they just grew into it, and they had their fullbacks quite high, and they were keeping the ball, and they were getting balls into the box, like really dangerous ones, and we were just under that sort of don't lose mentality, and we couldn't get control of it again. I don't think the subs were I think Bowen was good when he came on, but I think I would have brought Gordon on as well to stretch the width. And I thought Gallagher came on, but
even from the 3 minutes highlights, it seemed like we were on the back foot and looking vulnerable when they were attacking at pace.
It was just more of the situation. We were 1-0 up with 10 minutes to play. We were defending a lead rather than being in the game.
Yeah, I think it was a typical situation where we hadn't got the second goal. Obviously, their keeper made an amazing save from Kane, pushing that header onto the bar. If that goes in, then I think everybody would have talked about Serbia huffing and puffing, but not really having much in them, and England killing them off. Because I didn't ever really feel like they were properly threatening. Like, even that save that Pickford had to make from Vlahovic, it's a bit of a pot shot, and I think it was going over anyway. But there was a couple of flashes across the face. I think Trippier did really well on one of them to kind of just trap the ball really quickly and just play out. James is right that it was just circumstantial, and they ended up playing in a way that you could see that it was just no risk, complete no risk football, both when they were attacking and defending. So that just meant that they just had to see it out in the end.
So who's up next for England then?
Denmark on Thursday. I don't know if you saw the Denmark-Slovenia game, but they just looked like two half decent teams. There was
two stodgy sides. Yeah, I think we'll win all three games, I think.
So say Thursday, is it 5 p.m. kickoff?
It is 5 p.m. on Thursday. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't change the team unless Shaw's fit.
He was named on the bench yesterday, and he had a tracksuit on, but he wasn't available to play apparently.
Well, Trippier went down injured, and he didn't go out to get warm. Put it that way.
And the commentators kind of said at the time that he was never going to play last night. So I think third group game, I think they'll want to get the job done against Denmark, and then third group game, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts that and get some minutes in his legs before the knockouts. I'll be interested to see how the team changes as we move forward, because he's not going to use Trent in this Well, maybe I'm being too absolute about this, but like he's not going to use Trent in that position against the top nations. He's just not.
I don't know.
It's too much vulnerability, or
I just don't know why you do. Why would you start it if you had no intention of seeing it through?
Yeah, maybe. It just doesn't give it. They just don't have any control. They couldn't get any control last night. I think that they kind of had it for the first 20 minutes, but Serbia were very tentative during that time. As soon as Serbia started pressing and weren't allowing Saka and Kane in particular to turn, they started getting on top of us, and we couldn't wrestle the control back. And I think a lot of that came from the midfield. But I will say at the same time, I don't think either of them were particularly bad. And when I'm talking about Rice and Trent, Rice was really good, but there's just something that's not quite right.
But we lost control in midfield, and Bellingham we had three in midfield already at times, and we still couldn't get control. I wouldn't say that was a Trent problem. I would also say that my prediction is that I think Trent will start the next game, and I think if we're through by the third game, he'll try Wharton or Mainu from the start and see how they get on alongside Rice, because we're not getting the best out of Rice. I think he ran around a lot last night, missing good tackles, but I think his passing was pretty poor. He wasn't finding anything progressive really for me. So we need someone to help him unlock that level, because he can do it. We've seen him do it all year. Don't
you feel like it's more likely it'll be Gallagher just because of that sub last night?
Maybe,
It felt pre-planned. It felt like we were always going to get to 60 minutes and they were going to make that sub no matter what the score was.
Yeah, I think Gallagher is a good player to come off the bench, but I just think if you want to try something, I don't think you start Gallagher from. I don't know what he brings that Trent doesn't off the start. I would rather see Mainu or a Wharton who will progress the ball better than Gallagher does. And it's not like in my head, it's not like I even think Gallagher's that good of a defender either. He just runs around more.
He's 7 out of 10 at pretty much everything, isn't he?
He's the new Kelvin Phillips, unfortunately. He's just going to get minutes.
So yeah, I think it's a fine start for England. They won the game, like I say, and it was their hardest game in the group, so that's the main thing. I think the worry is that maybe it's not a worry, but some of the other big nations looked really good.
Yeah, go on then. So who's impressed you from the weekend so far?
I mean, caveats on the opening game that Scotland were appalling, but Germany looked way sharper than I was expecting. Musiala and Wirtz are different levels. So if those two reach anywhere near the level that they can throughout the tournament, they are going to be a problem. And I thought Spain looked good, actually. I thought Spain looked pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with both those things. I think the German front three, I know we were talking about Havertz being included in that, but like Havertz, Musiala and Wirtz are just frighteningly good as a front three. And then Spain, Lamine Yamal is 16 years old and he looks like he's been playing pro for 10 years. He just looks so calm and composed.
Yeah. Well, even like skipping off Germany quickly there, but just going back to them, it was even the replacements they made, the squad depth that they've got and the penetration that those players had. Again, against Scotland, but you've still got to do it. And Fulkrug looked flipping good too. But yeah, we had the extensive discussion, also with KJ, on the WhatsApp group about Kai Havertz. So interesting that you've called him out there, James. In that front three is so dangerous. Because I've seen it too in playing for Arsenal and studying him more since February specifically. He's been transformative for the whole Arsenal team, and I think he does that for the team too, and I think he's doing it for Germany. He doesn't just do it for himself. He's a very versatile attacking midfielder, attacking forward that gets then the best out of the other players around him too, not being that traditional target man 9.
He's an enabler. He is the same thing that Firmino did for years at Liverpool. He makes the people around him play better, and I think a confident Havertz is a scary prospect.
Such a good comparison. He's so similar to Firmino.
Yeah, he makes everyone else around him better. Like sometimes you'll go, he's not in the game, or he does this, he does that, he misses chances. Firmino was a bit more clinical maybe, but like he does make everyone else play better around him, I would say.
And similar vibe, but lower key maybe. I just thought Gundogan was so good.
Yeah, he's great.
And when I saw the side and I saw him in it, I was a bit like, I've kind of forgotten about him. I kind of had to wrap my brain who he was playing for. So I was like, he's been at Barca. Okay, I wonder. I haven't really seen him much this season. And he's just pure class, isn't he? He's so good.
I mean, that whole midfield three, what was it? Kroos, Gundogan, Kimmich. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's one hell of a midfield three.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but like, I think the big change, the change they made look great as well. They had Sane coming off the bench, the big number 9, who I can't even try and pronounce his name. And then they have the extra 10% of playing in front of their own crowd. So, yeah, they will definitely.
So me calling for Germany to be underperformers might have been a little bit premature.
Slightly.
So, for underperformers. And Joel, you called out Belgium. So how have they got on in their first game?
Yeah, they lost. Although, like, it was thanks to VAR. I don't think their second disallowed goal should have been disallowed. It was disallowed for handball on. They just bought a Pender off the bench, and he's kind of jostling with a fullback on a bouncing ball, and his arm is out and it hits it. But they've said that it's intentional handball, but I don't really think it was. And then crossed it to Lukaku. But yeah, I just think they got. I mean, they were unlucky today. In the end, they had loads of chances, but I still think that they are definitely coming to the end of their cycle. And De Bruyne doesn't look the same player that he has been for years. So
agreed. I think they've just had these struggles in the Euro. I think they were probably in their palm like 6 or 8 years ago, and they had Hazard and obviously De Bruyne and these types of players that they've probably gone past that stage now where they're seen as a top 14.
Yeah. And I mean, they've already lost to Slovakia in that group. The other two in the group, Ukraine, have been talked up quite a lot. They've got some individuals who have been at Girona this season who have done really well, and then Romania have absolutely pumped them 3-0 today.
Romania looked so good. Yeah, a lot more highlights out of Romania than there was England.
So yeah, I'd say they're in trouble in that group. They play Romania next, and they definitely can't lose that. Others to call out, I think Italy.
Spain. What impressed you about Spain other than the scoreline?
So like decisive, I thought on like when they started the game relatively well, and then Croatia started to take control. But in a flash, Spain just put them to bed. And I don't know a lot about him, but Fabian Ruiz in the middle of the park looked really, really good. He looks a real good player. His goal was amazing. And then, they've just got this lovely blend of youngsters like Nico Williams and Yamal, who we've already mentioned, who can obviously run players. They've got brilliant balance. Morata looked good, finished that really well, and I think it's important for him to start the tournament in that way if he wants to have a good one. I thought they looked pretty good, and Croatia are no mugs, so to put them away 3-0 opening day.
I mean, they were great, but they've got away with a huge one. I think Rodri should have got a red card. I don't know if you've seen that clip of the penalty.
Oh, I didn't even think it was a pen.
Oh, I think if they give a pen, there has to be a red card. I know the whole double jeopardy rule, but it's just that feels like that's a big call as well. Because no Rodri over the next 2 games, like you mentioned, there is a lot of youth in that team. Like he carries a lot of weight in that Spain squad.
And it's probably worth mentioning as well that their keeper can throw a wobbler when I think it was for the penalty, wasn't it? He gave the ball away. I mean, he's a really decent keeper. He made a good save from the penalty, obviously. But, he's got a rick in him.
He has. There's definitely, if he was our keeper, I'd be feeling a little bit risky.
So, I thought they looked pretty good. Italy looked okay, but obviously they're playing Albania, and I don't think they're going to be any good. And they ran out of steam second half as well. So, I'd say Spain and Germany, the two from the opening games so far. More to come from England.
Go again Thursday.
Great. Anything else to add then on the Euros?
Just that it's been really good, I think. Like the first few games in the round, lots of them have been, there's been lots of end-to-end football. There haven't been really stodgy, other than England's game, probably. England's Zerba was probably the worst game so far. More of the same, please.
I think we can get into the cricket next week when the Super 8s kick off.
1:30 a.m. Thursday morning. Set your alarm.
Well, yeah, good. All right. Well, I'll keep this in. Segue. 1:30 a.m. tonight. Game 5. We return to the Garden, TD Garden, for Game 5 of Celtics versus the Mavs. Matt Waite's Celtics versus James Bray's Mavs and Mark Cuban's Mavs, co-owned. The Mavs got it done at home in Game 4 to keep the series alive, but returning to the Garden, I can't see it happening. I think the Celtics will bounce back, although I think it was maybe the third or fourth biggest winning margin that the Mavs had against the Celtics in Game 4. So I was a little bit shook from the result.
Surely there's an element of let's take it easy, take them back to Boston and finish it there.
It would be great to take it back to Boston. You don't want to lose that badly. But if they're getting paid per game, you get a game bonus as well as the TV coverage and the TV money too. Maybe there's something in that. I was like, why are they playing so badly? But I've sent you guys some clips to the 30-something-year-old coach at Boston Celtics. He has got something about him. It's not just about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Porzingis. The coach as well is one for the future. I'm very happy for the future of the Celtics over the next 2-3 years. This isn't the last finals they're going to be in over the next 2-3 years, that's for sure.
Joe Mazzulla.
Check out some of the clips that I've been WhatsApping you that you've not responded to, Joel. And Yellow.
I'll get back to you maybe next week.
Yeah, there's some really decent content. He just straight off the back of the game being played, his recall of stats and knowledge of the stats from the game that he calls out in the post press conference is phenomenal. You can see why the Celtics team are doing what they're doing, and it's worked for them all season, but they've also got the 2-point game as well. They've got the attacking forwards to drive into the paint, and it just makes them look like they've got an all-court game. And he's done that for them. He's transformed them as a coach. So I'm really positive.
So he's 35 and has already been coaching for 13 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Student of the game.
That's it. NBA, James, any chat about your Mavericks?
No. There's
Mavs.
Yeah, those pesky Mavs. I will say I looked at the score third game and it looked tighter than the scoreboard suggests. I think there was one blowout quarter for Boston team. So I mean, are we going to see a nice Game 7? If there's Game 7, I'll get up and watch it. Put it that way.
A Game 7. If there's a Game 7, then the Mavs are winning, because if it gets to Game 7, then all momentum is.
Has that ever happened? Has a team ever thrown away a 3-0?
It's never happened.
No.
You know what? Records are there to be broken.
In fact, I don't think I'm going to be as bold to say as it's never happened in any post-season game that a team has been 3-0 down and come back to win the final four.
It must have done.
No?
Somebody must have done it.
Okay, right. Pod, we're just going to pause whilst we look this up.
To date, there has never been a successful comeback from 3-0 series deficit in the NBA.
Called it.
The 156 times an NBA team fell into a 3-0 deficit, only 4 of them forced a Game 7, which they ultimately lost.
You know the last team to do it?
No.
The Boston Celtics.
Hey, there you go. But they lost.
Yeah, Miami
lost
Heat.
in Celtics.
Tell you what, I'm into my NBA. Gonna have to get the last dance on.
So similarly, speaking of a 3-0 lead, Florida Panthers were 3-0 up in the NHL finals against the Edmonton Oilers. Similarly, the Edmonton Oilers absolutely smashed the Panthers in Game 4 to take it to Game 5. They went 8-1. Yeah, you should see the highlights. It's just one way traffic. It's like it was a fix. Right. It was absolutely ridiculous. Great. So that will pretty much do us for tonight. If you have enjoyed listening, rate us 5-star on Spotify, subscribe, and you can also get in touch at allsportspods@gmail.com. and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Cheers, guys.